Chapter 7. The Seven Churches. Man is a triad of body, soul, and spirit. A mediator exists between the spirit and the body. This is the soul. We Gnostics know the soul is dressed with a marvelous garment. This is the astral body. We know through our Gnostic studies that the astral body is a double organism endowed with marvelous internal senses. Great clairvoyants speak to us of the seven chakras, and Mr. Leadbeater describes them in great detail. These chakras are really the senses of the astral body. These magnetic centers are found in intimate correlation with the glands of internal secretion. In the laboratory of the human organism, there exist 7 ingredients submitted to a triple nervous system. The nerves control the glandular septenary as agents of the law of the triangle. The 3 different nervous systems, which interact with each other, are the following. First, the cerebrospinal nervous system, agent of conscious functions. Second, the great sympathetic nervous system, agent of subconscious, unconscious, and instinctive functions. Third, the parasympathetic or vagus system, which collaborates by restraining the instinctive functions under the mind's direction. The cerebrospinal system is the divine spirit's throne. The great sympathetic system is the astral body's vehicle. The vagus or parasympathetic obeys the mind's commands. 3 rays and 7 magnetic centers are the basis for any cosmos, in the infinitely large as well as in the infinitely small. As above, so below. The 7 most important glands of the human organism constitute the 7 laboratories controlled by the law of the triangle. Each of these glands has its exponent in a chakra of the organism. Each of the 7 chakras is found located in intimate correlation with the 7 churches of the spinal medulla. The spine's 7 churches control the 7 chakras of the great sympathetic nervous system. The 7 churches become intensely active with the Kundalini's ascent along the medullary canal. The Kundalini dwells in the electrons. Sages meditate on it, devotees adore it, and in homes where perfect matrimony reigns, it is worked with practically. The Kundalini is the solar fire enclosed in the seminal atoms, the ardent electronic substance of the sun, that, when liberated, transforms us into terribly divine gods. The fires of the heart control the Kundalini's ascension through the medullary canal. The Kundalini develops, evolves, and progresses according to the merits of the heart. The Kundalini is the primordial energy enclosed within the Church of Ephesus. This church is found 2 fingers above the anus, and 2 fingers behind the genital organs. The divine serpent of fire sleeps, coiled 3.5 times, within its church. When the solar and lunar atoms make contact in the triveni near the coccyx, the Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers, awakens. As the serpent rises through the medullary canal, it puts each of the 7 churches into activity. The chakras of the gonads, sexual glands, are directed by Uranus, and the pineal gland, situated in the upper part of the brain, is controlled by Neptune. There is an intimate correlation between these 2 glands, and the Kundalini must connect them with the sacred fire in order to achieve the profound realization. The Church of Ephesus is a lotus with 4 splendid petals. This church has the brilliance of 10 million suns. The elemental earth of the sages is conquered with the power of this church. The Kundalini's ascent to the prostatic region activates the 6 petals of the Church of Smyrna. This church bestows upon us power to dominate the elemental waters of life and joy of creation. When the sacred serpent reaches the region of the navel, we can dominate volcanoes because the elemental fire of the sages corresponds to the Church of Pergamos, situated in the solar plexus. This center controls the spleen, the liver, the pancreas, etc., etc. This center of Pergamos has 10 petals. With the ascent of the Kundalini to the heart region, the Church of Thyatira with its 12 marvelous petals is activated. This church bestows upon us power over the elemental air of the sages. Development of this cardiac center confers inspiration, presentiment, intuition, and powers for departing consciously in the astral body, as well as the power to place our body into the jinn state. The 2nd chapter of Revelation deals with the 4 lower churches of our organism. These 4 centers are known as fundamental or basic, prostatic, umbilical, and cardiac. Now we shall study the 3 upper magnetic centers mentioned in Revelation, chapter 3. These 3 upper churches are the churches of Sardis, Philadelphia, and lastly, Laodicea. The Kundalini's ascent to the region of the creative larynx bestows upon us the power to hear the voices of beings that live in the superior worlds. This chakra is related to pure Akasha. Akasha is the agent of sound. The laryngeal chakra is the Church of Sardis. When the Kundalini opens the Church of Sardis, it blossoms on our fertile lips made word. The laryngeal chakra has 16 beautiful petals. Complete development of this Akashic center allows us to keep our bodies alive even during the profound nights of the Great Pralaya. Incarnation of the Great Word is impossible without having awakened the sacred serpent. Akasha is, precisely, the agent of the Word. It is to the Word what conductive wire is to electricity. The Word needs Akasha to manifest itself. Akasha is the agent of sound. The Kundalini is Akasha. Akasha is sexual. The Kundalini is sexual. The magnetic center where the Kundalini normally lives is absolutely sexual, as demonstrated by the concrete fact of the place it is located. 2 fingers above the anus, and about 2 fingers behind the genitals. The space where it is located is 4 fingers wide. The Kundalini can only be awakened and fully developed with sexual magic. This is what infrasexuals do not like. They feel themselves to be supertranscendental and mortally hate sexual magic. On one occasion, after listening to a lecture we gave about sexual magic, someone protested saying, "That was how we Gnostics were corrupting women." This individual was an infrasexual. The man protested because we were teaching the science of regeneration, but meanwhile, he did not protest against intermediate sexuality, nor against prostitutes, nor against the vice of masturbation, nor did he say these people were corrupt. He protested against the doctrine of regeneration but not against the doctrine of degeneration. That is how infrasexuals are. They feel immensely superior to all people of normal sexuality. They protest against regeneration but defend degeneration. Infrasexuals can never incarnate the Word. They spit inside the sacred sanctuary of sex, and the law punishes them, hurling them into the abyss forever. Sex is the sanctuary of the Holy Spirit. When the Kundalini reaches the height of the space between the eyebrows, the Church of Philadelphia opens. This is the eye of wisdom. The Father who is in secret dwells in this magnetic center. The chakra at the space between the eyebrows has 2 fundamental petals and many splendorous radiations. This center is the throne of the mind. No true clairvoyant says he is one. No true clairvoyant says I saw. The clairvoyant initiate says we consider. All clairvoyants need initiation. The clairvoyant without initiation is at risk of falling into very serious mistakes. The clairvoyant who goes around recounting his visions to the whole world is at risk of losing his faculty. The talkative clairvoyant can also lose his mental equilibrium. The clairvoyant must be quiet, humble, modest. The clairvoyant must be like a child. When the Kundalini reaches the height of the pineal gland, the Church of Laodicea opens. This lotus flower has 1,000 resplendent petals. The pineal gland is influenced by Neptune. When this church opens, we receive polyvision, intuition, etc. The pineal gland is intimately related to the chakras of the gonads or sexual glands. The greater the level of sexual potency, the greater the development of the pineal gland. The lesser the degree of sexual potency, the lesser the degree of development of the pineal gland. Uranus in our sexual organs and Neptune in the pineal gland unite to carry us to total realization. In schools of regeneration, so mortally hated by infrasexuals, we are taught to work practically with the science of Uranus and Neptune. The Tao path includes 3 paths, this being the 4th. Much has been said about the 4 ways. We Gnostics traverse the 4th way in full consciousness. During the sexual act, we transmute the brutal instincts of our physical body into willpower, the passionate emotions of the astral into love, the mental impulses into comprehension, and as spirits, we carry out the great work. This is how we traverse the 4 ways in practice. We do not need to become fakirs for the first path, neither monks for the second, nor scholars for the third. The path of perfect matrimony allows us to traverse the 4 paths during the sexual act itself. From the 1st verse to the 7th, Revelation speaks about the coccygeal center. The Church of Ephesus is in this center. The igneous serpent has coiled itself 3.5 times within this creative center. Whoever awakens the serpent, and makes it rise through the spinal medulla, receives the flaming sword and then enters Eden. The redemption of man is found in the serpent, but we should be on guard against the serpent's astuteness. The forbidden fruit must be contemplated, and its aroma inhaled. But remember what the Lord Jehovah said, if you eat that fruit, you will die. We must enjoy the happiness of love, and adore the woman. A good painting enchants us, a beautiful piece of music carries us to ecstasy, but an adorable, beautiful woman immediately makes us want to hold her. She is the living representation of Godmother. The sexual act with one's beloved has its indisputable delights. Sexual enjoyment is a legitimate right of mankind. Enjoy love's blessing, but do not spill the semen. Do not commit sacrilege. Do not be fornicators. Chastity converts us into gods. Fornication converts us into demons. Krumheller said the Scythians adored the great light, and said the sun, in its emanations, forms a nest in us, and constitutes the serpent. The Nazarenes said, all of you shall be gods, if you leave Egypt and cross the Red Sea. Krumheller tells us in his book, The Gnostic Church, that this Gnostic sect had, as a sacred object, a chalice from which they drank the semen of Benjamin. This, according to Hierakocha, was a mixture of wine and water. The great master Krumheller tells us the sacred symbol of the sexual serpent was never missing from the altars of the Nazarenes. Really, the force, the power, that accompanied Moses was the serpent on the staff, which later became the staff itself. The serpent was certainly the one that spoke to the rest of the serpents, and the one that tempted Eve. The sage Hierakocha, in another paragraph of his immortal work entitled The Gnostic Church, said Moses, in the desert, showed his people the serpent on the staff, saying the serpent would not be damaging to the one who made use of it during his journey. All the marvelous powers of Moses resided in the sacred serpent Kundalini. Moses practiced sexual magic extensively in order to raise the serpent upon the staff. Moses had a wife. In the terrifying night of centuries past, sublime and austere hierophants of the great mysteries were the jealous guardians of the great arcanum. The great priests had sworn silence, and the key to the ark of science was hidden from the eyes of the people. Sexual magic was only known and practiced by the great priests. The wisdom of the serpent is the basis of the great mysteries. This was cultivated in the mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, Rome, India, Persia, Troy, Aztec Mexico, Inca Peru, etc. Krumheller tells us that in the hymn of Demeter by Homer, found in a Russian library, we can see that everything revolved around a cosmic physiological fact of great transcendence. In that ancient song of the man-god who sang to old Troy and Achilles' wrath, we clearly see sexual magic serving as a cornerstone in the great temple of Eleusis. Naked dance, delightful music in the temple, the kiss that intoxicates, the mysterious spell of the secret act, made Eleusis a paradise of adorable gods and goddesses. In those times nobody had dirty thoughts, but only thought of holy and sublime things. It would have occurred to no one to desecrate the temple. Couples knew to withdraw in time to avoid spillage of the sacred wine. In Egypt, Osiris, the masculine principle, appears facing Isis, the eternal and adorable feminine. In this sunny country of Chem, the Lord of all perfection also worked with the great arcanum Azf, precisely when he was in his initiatic preparation period before beginning his mission. That is how it is written in the memories of nature. In Phoenicia, Hercules and Deianira loved each other intensely. In Attica, Pluto and Persephone, but as Dr. Krumheller says, among them the phallus and womb are clearly mentioned. This is the lingam yoni of the Greek mysteries. The great priests of Egypt, old heirs of the archaic wisdom the Atlanteans cultivated, depicted the great god Ibis of Thoth with the virile member in a state of erection. And Krumheller recounts that, over the erect phallus of Ibis of Thoth, a phrase was inscribed, which said, "Giver of reason." Next to the inscription, a lotus flower shone gloriously. The ancient sages of sacred Egypt engraved the divine symbol of the sexual snake upon their millenary walls. The secret of sexual magic was incommunicable. That is the great arcanum. Those poor wretches who divulged the ineffable secret were sentenced to death. They were taken to a stone patio, and before a millenary wall covered with crocodile skins and indecipherable hieroglyphics, their heads were cut off, their hearts were torn out, and their cursed ashes were thrown to the four winds. This brings to mind the great French poet, Cazotte, who died at the guillotine during the French Revolution. At a noted banquet, this man prophesied his own death and the fatal destiny that awaited a certain group of initiate nobles who planned the disclosure of the great arcanum. For some, he prophesied the guillotine, for others, the dagger, poison, jail, exile. His prophecies were fulfilled with absolute accuracy. In the Middle Ages, all those who divulged the great arcanum were mysteriously killed, be it by shirt of Nessus, poisoned soaps, or fragrant bouquets that arrived to the door of the condemned as a birthday present, or the dagger. The great arcanum is the key to all powers, and the key to all empires. The powers of nature are unleashed against the daring who attempt to dominate it. The great hierophants hide their secret, and divine kings do not entrust the secret key of their power to any mortal. Unhappy poor wretch is the mortal who, after receiving the secret of sexual magic, does not know how to take advantage of it. For him, it would be better to have never been born, or to hang a millstone around his neck and throw himself to the bottom of the sea. Nature is not interested in mankind's cosmic realization, and it's even contrary to its own interests. That is the reason she opposes with all her might the daring who want to dominate her. Fittingly, a curious anecdote comes to mind. On a certain occasion, a poor customs guard was walking along the beach. Suddenly, something caught his attention. In the sands whipped by the raging waves of the Caribbean, he saw a leather object. The man approached it, and with great surprise he found a small black leather briefcase. He ran immediately to the harbor masters, and delivered that object to his superior. Mission accomplished, he went to his house. When he went to work the following day, the superior officer, full of great anger, gave the man a 20-cent coin while saying, "You imbecile! This is what you deserve. Take this coin to hang yourself. You don't deserve to live. Buy the rope with these 20 cents and hang from a tree. Luck came to you, and you disregarded it. The briefcase you delivered to me had close to $1 million. Get out of here. Out of here, imbecile, you don't deserve to live." Really, this is the fatal destiny that awaits those who do not know how to take advantage of the very precious treasure of the great arcanum. They don't deserve to live. The great arcanum of sexual magic has never before been taught in life, and now we are divulging it. Poor wretches are those who, after coming across the treasure of kings, disregard it, as did the guard in the example. The treasure of the great arcanum is worth even more than the fortune found by the guard. To disregard this is to really be an imbecile. In order to awaken the Kundalini, the woman is needed. However, we must warn that the initiate must practice sexual magic with only one woman. Those who practice sexual magic with different women commit the sin of adultery. They do not progress in these studies. Unfortunately, there are certain individuals who utilize sexual magic as a pretext for seducing women. They are profaners of the temple. These types of men inevitably fall into black magic. We warn women to be very careful of these sexually perverse characters. There are also many women who, under the supposed pretext of profound realization, unite with any man. What those passionate women want is to satiate their carnal desires. The world is always the same and, as expected, since we are divulging the great arcanum, swine have appeared who trample the doctrine, and then die poisoned by the bread of wisdom. The cult of sexual magic can only be practiced between husband and wife. We clarify this to avert carnal seductions and sudden impulses, and passionate lustful saints. Sexual force is a formidable weapon. Scientists have not been able to find the origin of electricity. We affirm that the cause of electrical energy must be sought in the universal sexual force. This force not only resides in the sexual organs but also in the atoms and electrons of the universe. The light of the sun is a product of sexuality. An atom of hydrogen unites sexually with an atom of carbon in order to produce solar light. Hydrogen is masculine. Carbon is feminine. Solar light results from the sexual union of both. Studies on the processes of carbon are very interesting. Those processes are the gestation of light. The causal causarum of electricity must be sought in the universal serpentine fire. This fire dwells in electrons. Sages meditate on it, mystics adore it, and those who follow the path of perfect matrimony work practically with it. Sexual force is a formidable weapon in the hands of white magicians and black magicians. Thought attracts sexual fluid to the spine in order to deposit it in its respective sac. With the fatal spillage of this fluid, billions of solar atoms are lost. The movement of sexual contraction that follows the spillage of semen gathers, from the atomic infernos of man, billions of satanic atoms, which replace the lost solar atoms. This is how we form the devil within ourselves. When we refrain the sexual impulse within us, the marvelous fluid returns to the astral body, multiplying its ineffable splendors. This is how we form the Christ within ourselves. Thus, with the sexual energy, we can form the Christ, or the devil within ourselves. The great Master, in his capacity as the incarnated cosmic Christ, said, "I am the bread of life, I am the living bread. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever. Whoever eats my flesh, and drinks my blood, has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. He that eats my flesh, and drinks my blood, dwells in me, and I in him. John 6 verses 35 to 56. Christ is the solar soul, the living spirit of the sun. This, with its life, makes the ear of wheat grow, and all the potency of the solar logos is enclosed in the grain, the seed. The Christonic substance of the solar logos is enclosed in every vegetable, animal, or human seed, as within a precious case. Making the creative energy return inward and upward, germinates. A marvelous child is born within us, a Christified astral body. This vehicle bestows immortality upon us. This is our Christos mediator. With this vehicle we reach the Father who is in secret. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14 verse 6 said the Lord of all perfection. The astral phantasm possessed by mortals is nothing more than a sketch of man. It doesn't even have unity. This ghost-like facade is a den of demons, and every unclean and hateful bird. Within this astral phantasm lives the I, the devil. This is the infernal legion. The I is a legion. Just as the body is composed of many atoms, so too is the I composed of millions of eyes, diabolical intelligences, repugnant demons that quarrel amongst themselves. When a person dies, he becomes that legion. The person himself becomes dust. Only the legion of eyes remain alive. Clairvoyants often find the disincarnated dressed distinctly, and simultaneously in different places. The person seems to have become many people. He's legion. However, when we have given birth to the Christic astral body in ourselves, we continue living in that sidereal body after death. Then we are really immortal. The kinds of people who possess a Christified astral body find themselves with the consciousness awake after death. The common disincarnated leave after death with a sleep consciousness. Death is really returned to fetal conception. Death is returned to the seed. All those who die return to a new maternal womb, totally unconscious, asleep. People don't even have their soul incarnated. The souls of people are disincarnated. People have only an embryo of soul incarnated. Evil people don't even have this embryo of soul. We can incarnate the soul only when we possess a Christified astral body. Common people are only just the vehicle of the I. The name of each mortal is Legion. Only with sexual magic can we cause the Christ astral to be born within us. Temptation is fire, triumph over temptation is light. Refraining desire makes the astral liquid rise toward the pineal gland, and thus, the Adam Christ, the Superman, is born within us. Upon excitation of the sexual organs to perform the coitus, semen multiplies. When it is not spilled, it transmutes, and it transforms us into gods. Sexual fire is the sword with which the internal God combats the tenebris. All those who practice sexual magic open the 7 churches. Whosoever spills the semen, after having worked with the Kundalini, inevitably fails, because the Kundalini then descends one or more vertebrae according to the magnitude of the fault. We must fight until we reach perfect chastity, or else I will come to you quickly, and will remove your candlestick from its place, unless you repent. Revelation 2 verse 5. The vapor that rises from the seminal system opens the lower orifice of the spinal medulla so the sacred serpent can enter through there. This orifice is found closed in common people. The seminal vapor of black magicians is directed towards the abyss. The seminal vapor of white magicians is raised toward heaven. Opening the Church of Ephesus signifies the awakening of the Kundalini. The color of this center is a dirty red in the licentious, yellowish red in the initiate, and purplish reddish blue in the initiated mystic. Solar and lunar atoms rise from the seminal system. The seminal vapors have atoms of the sun and the moon as their basis. Seminal vapors are transmuted into energy. This energy is bipolarized into positive and negative, solar and lunar. These energies rise through the sympathetic channels of Eta and Pingala up to the chalice. This chalice is the brain. The 2 sympathetic channels through which the semen rises, already completely converted into energy, are the 2 witnesses of revelation, the 2 olive trees of the temple, the 2 candlesticks before the god of the earth, the 2 serpents entwined on the staff of the caduceus of Mercury. When their tails touch, solar and lunar atoms make contact in the coccyx, near the triveni. Then the Kundalini awakens. The igneous serpent of our magical powers emerges from the membranous pocket where it was enclosed, and rises through the spinal canal toward the chalice, the brain. Certain nerve filaments that connect the 7 chakras, or sympathetic plexus, with the spinal column, branch out from the medullary canal. The sacred fire activates the 7 magnetic centers. The Kundalini marvelously coordinates the activity of all 7 chakras. We could illustrate all this by a stem with 7 fragrant and beautiful roses. The stem would represent the spinal column, and the 7 roses would represent the 7 chakras or magnetic centers. The delicate stems of these 7 roses of ardent fire are the fine threads which unite them to the spinal column. The powers of light battle the powers of darkness within the semen. The advent of the fire is the most magnificent event of the perfect matrimony. The center where the serpent is coiled has 4 petals, of which only 2 are active. The other 2 are activated with initiation. The prostatic chakra has 6 beautiful colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. This is the Church of Smyrna. This center is extremely important for the magician. We control the sexual act with this center. This is the magnetic center of practical magic. The third center is the Church of Pergamos. This is the brain of the emotions. We have a veritable wireless station established within the human organism. The receptive center is the umbilical center. The transmitting antenna is the pineal gland. Mind waves of those who think about us reach the umbilical center or brain of the emotions, and later pass to the brain, where we become aware of these thoughts. The Church of Thyatira, the 4th center, is worthy of total admiration. The cardias or cardiac center is intimately related with the heart of the solar system. Mankind is a universe in miniature. If we want to study the universe, we must study mankind. In the universe, we discover mankind. In mankind, we discover the universe. The solar system seen from far away truly seems like a glorious man walking across the unalterable infinite. All time has been transformed there into a living form, full of ineffable music, the music of the spheres. An instant of perception for this celestial man is 80 years. The heart of this celestial man is really found in the center of the solar disk. Those who know how to travel consciously and positively in the astral body are able to visit this temple. A gigantic abyss, blacker than the night, leads to the sanctuary. Few are those brave enough to descend into this fatal abyss. In the frightening depths of that solar abyss, one can perceive formidable things, consuming flames, the terror of the mystery. Whoever has the courage to descend there will find the vestibule of the sanctuary. An adept will bless them with an olive branch. Joyful are those who gain admittance to the secret place. A narrow passageway leads the beloved disciple to the secret place of the sanctuary. This is the cardia of the solar system. 7 saints live in this sacred place. They are the rulers of the 7 solar rays. The most important ray is that of the Kundalini or serpentine fire, which sparkles intensely in the aurora. Every perfect matrimony must practice sexual magic during the dawn. The solar system is the body of a great being. That one is total perfection. The heart of that great being is the sun. The heart chakra has 12 petals. 6 are active and 6 are inactive. The 12 petals are activated with the sacred fire. We must work on the heart through intense prayer. The 5th center is the Church of Sardis. This is the center of the creative larynx. This is the lotus of 16 petals. When the human being activates this lotus through the fire, he receives the magical ear. The sacred fire becomes a creator in the throat. Angels create with the power of the word. Fire blossoms on fecund lips made word. The initiate is capable of creating anything with thought, and then materializing it with the word. Hearing with the magical ear has not been well defined by occultists. We should warn here that whoever has the magical ear can really hear internal sounds, perceiving them almost physically, or better said, in a form similar to the physical. The magical ear permits us to hear angels. When the totality of the creative energy rises to the brain, we elevate ourselves to the angelic state. Then, we can create with the power of the word. One does not reach these heights through the mechanical evolution of nature. Evolution is movement of universal life, but it doesn't take anyone to the angelic state. Nature is not interested in the Superman. She contains all possibilities, but the Superman is contrary to her vested interests. The most terrible forces of nature oppose the birth of the Superman. The angel, the Superman, is the result of a tremendous revolution of consciousness. No one is obligated to help the individual in this revolution. This is a very intimate matter for each of us. The problem is absolutely sexual. We must unsheathe the sword and combat the terrible forces of nature which oppose the birth of the Superman. When the sacred fire opens the frontal chakra, the Church of Philadelphia, with its marvelous petals and innumerable splendors, we can then see clairvoyantly. People are accustomed to theorizing in life, and swearing to things they have never seen. It is necessary to awaken clairvoyance in order to see the great internal realities. The frontal chakra is the throne of the mind. When study and clairvoyance move together in balance and harmony, we do, in fact, enter the temple of true knowledge. Many are those who affirm what they have read, they repeat borrowed highlights. These kinds of people believe they know but have never seen what they have read about. They're repeating like parrots, that is all. These people know nothing. They are ignorant people. They are learned ignoramuses. In order to know, one must first be. Clairvoyance is the eye of the being. Being and knowing must march in a balanced and parallel way. Those who have read so much occultism feel they are wise. If these poor people have not seen what they have read, you can rest assured they know absolutely nothing. There are all types of seers in the world. The true clairvoyant never goes around saying he is one. Every student of occultism, upon having his first clairvoyant visions, has a tendency to tell the whole world. Then others laugh at him, and since the vibrations of the people are negative, the novice ends up losing mental equilibrium. Clairvoyance without initiation leads students into error, and even to the crime of insult and slander, sometimes even to homicide. Someone who has a flash of clairvoyance sees, for instance, his wife in the astral committing adultery with his friend, and if the seer does not have initiation and is jealous, he could then murder his wife or his friend, even though his unfortunate wife is a saint and his friend a true and loyal servant. Keep in mind that in the astral the human being is legion, and each pluralized I repeats acts committed in previous lives. The great masters of the White Lodge have been slandered by seers. Every master has a double exactly like himself. If the master preaches chastity, his double preaches fornication. If the master does good works, his double does evil works. It is exactly his antithesis. Because of all this, we can only trust in those clairvoyants who have reached the fifth initiation of major mysteries. In addition, we must take into account that before the fifth initiation of major mysteries, the human being does not have at his disposal Christified vehicles to serve as the temple of his internal God. Neither the soul, nor the Christ can enter people who do not have organized vehicles. Whoever has not incarnated his soul does not have real existence. He is a legion of eyes that struggle to manifest through the man's body. Sometimes the drinking eye acts, other times the smoking eye, the killing eye, the stealing eye, the eye that falls in love, etc., etc. There is conflict between the eyes. That is why we see many who swear to belong to the Gnostic movement, and then they change their minds and declare themselves enemies of Gnosis. The eye that swears loyalty to Gnosis is displaced by another eye that hates Gnosis. The eye that swears he adores his wife is replaced by another eye that abhors her. The eye is a legion of demons. How can we trust clairvoyants who have not yet incarnated their souls? The man who has not incarnated his soul is still not morally responsible. Could we possibly trust demons? Students of Gnosis should be very careful of those who go around declaring that they are supposedly seers, and prophesying to the people. The true clairvoyant never claims to be one. Masters of the fifth initiation of major mysteries are very humble and quiet. No student of occultism is a master. True masters are only those who have reached the fifth initiation of major mysteries. Before the fifth initiation, nobody is a master. The last lotus flower to open is the Church of Laodicea. This lotus flower has 1,000 petals. This lotus flower shines gloriously on the heads of saints. When the kundalini reaches the pineal gland, this marvelous flower opens. This is the eye of polyvision, the diamond eye. With this faculty, we can study the memories of nature. This is the divine eye of the spirit. The first sacred serpent passes from the pineal gland up to the eye of wisdom, situated between the two eyebrows. Then it penetrates the magnetic field at the bridge of the nose. When it touches the atom of the Father situated in that place, the first initiation of major mysteries is attained. No one is a master by the mere fact of having received the first initiation of major mysteries. This only means one more has entered the current that leads to nirvana. The student must raise the 7 serpents, one after the other. The second serpent belongs to the vital body, the third to the astral, the fourth to the mental, the fifth to the causal. The 6th and 7th serpents are of the soul consciousness and divine spirit. Each of the 7 serpents corresponds to an initiation of major mysteries. There are 7 serpents, 2 groups of 3, with the sublime coronation of the 7th tongue of fire that unites us with the One, the Law, the Father. We must open the 7 churches on each plane of cosmic consciousness. During initiation, the devotee must receive the stigmata of the Christ. Every one of his internal vehicles must be crucified and stigmatized. The stigmata are given to man according to his merits. Each stigma has its esoteric tests. The first stigmata received are those of the hands, and the tests to receive them are very painful. Precious stones also play an important part in initiation. The foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, the 12th amethyst. Revelation 21 verses 19 to 20. Revelation states, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give of the fountain of the water of life freely to him who thirsts. Revelation 21 verse 6, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Blessed are those who wash their robes, the 7 bodies, in the blood of the Lamb, Christonic semen, and may go through the gates into the city. Revelation 22 verses 13 to 14, and 7:14. Nevertheless, there are really so few of those who reach high initiation. Very few are those capable of getting as far as kissing the whip of the executioner. It is very difficult to kiss the hand that beats us, yet it is urgent to do so for those who reach high initiation. Christ said, of 1,000 that seek me, 1 finds me, of 1,000 that find me, 1 follows me, of the 1,000 that follow me, 1 is mine. What is most grave is that those who have read much occultism, and have belonged to many schools are full of platitudinous sanctity. They believe themselves to be very saintly and wise, even though they presume to be humble. These poor brethren are farther from the altar of initiation than the profane. Whoever wishes to reach high initiation must begin by recognizing himself as perverse. Whoever admits his own wickedness is on the road to the realization. Remember that within the incense of prayers also hides crime. This is difficult for those who have read a great deal. These people feel they are full of sanctity and wisdom. When they have flashes of clairvoyance, they are unbearable because they declare themselves to be masters of sapience. Naturally, people like this are sure candidates for the abyss and second death. The abyss is full of the sincerely mistaken, and of people with good intentions. When the initiate has made part of his creative fire come out of his head, he throws his crown to the feet of the Lamb. St. John speaks of the 24 elders who cast their crowns to the feet of the throne of the Lord. In chapter 19, Revelation describes a rider with a sash on his thigh. On this sash, written in sacred characters, is the phrase, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Indeed, the king is not in the forehead but in sex. Rasputin, inebriated with wine, pounded his sexual phallus on the orgy tables saying, This is the king of the world. Fortunate are those couples who know how to love. With the sexual act, we open the 7 churches of the apocalypse, and transform ourselves into gods. The 7 chakras resound with the powerful Egyptian mantra Fe Yun Dagj. The last word is guttural. The perfect exercise of the 7 churches, the complete priesthood, is performed with the body in the jinn state. Great magicians know how to put the body into the jinn state. Then they exercise the full priesthood of the 7 churches. When Jesus walked upon the sea, he carried his body in the jinn state. In this state we are omnipotent gods. In the umbilical region, there is a mysterious chakra that the magician uses for his jinn states. If they utilize the power of this chakra, any magician who is far from his physical body can beseech his internal God in this way, My Lord, my God, I beg you to bring me my body. The internal God can bring the physical body to the magician in the jinn state, that is, submerged in the astral plane. The mysterious chakra of jinn science spins in those moments. Whoever wants to learn jinn science can study the Yellow Book. We teach this mysterious science in there. The 7 churches bestow upon us power over fire, air, water, and earth.